What's up? What is going on? What's happening? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have quite the show tonight. Sitting to my left right here, this is our first actual in studio, if you want to say, right? In studio, in music room. This is our first in studio live interview. I have next to me an incredible human being well, you're welcome. Shellith. I just want to start by saying that we are really blessed. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Siren Rock Brewing in Rockwall, Texas. I'm wearing the hat. Siren Rock Brewing. Incredible brewery, makes incredible beer, incredible place to go, hang out, have a great time. The place is jumping 3/4 of the time. Their food is amazing. And so, yeah. What's that?
The hummus,
the fresh hummus, So to my left, I have an individual who has done it all. Okay. I'll let her intro herself. But this woman has recently gotten into hoarder house cleanouts, which is insane. And so she documents it and posts it to her social media feeds, specifically TikTok. Today alone, one of her posts has gone, it's already viral. Today alone, she has over 150,000 more views than yesterday. So I think she's in the 350,000 people that have interacted with this. It has been ridiculous to watch it. It's a time-lapse video of a hoarder house clean out, and apparently just the bathroom. So amazing. Courtney, Shelly the Brit. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi. So I am from England originally. I now live here in Dallas, Texas, or Rockwall, Texas. I met my husband whilst backpacking around Australia 13 years ago, and moved over here after we're doing like a long 4-year long distance relationship. Moved over here, and since then I've kind of been, working in different jobs, and then I had children. I now have 3 little boys. The youngest is 2, the oldest is 7, and just stay-at-home mom, but kind of dabble in here and that, and ended up, kind of working at this hoarding clean-out situation. But primarily my job has been an aerialist. I've been teaching pole fitness and aerial fitness classes for 20 years now. And so that's where I kind of really began when I was traveling around Australia. I was taking classes actually. And then I came home and opened up my own pole studio in England. And then obviously I met my husband. So I moved over here and started working in a pole studio here in Dallas. So.
And so the hoarding house thing kind of just fell in your lap.
Yeah, there was a friend of my children, my child's school friend, their family. They own the business. It's only a year old. It's going crazy because it's very family orientated. It's called Estate Recovery Agency, but it's new, and there isn't really that many kind of companies like this out there. So it's kind of got this niche that, I don't know, it's doing really well, and it's building and getting bigger and bigger. And we're realizing that it's just, it's going crazy. There's a lot of people out there that need a lot of help, and yeah, some really sad stories, some really great stories. I never really realized that I had anxiety until this last house that we did. I actually had to take some medicine from my sister-in-law because I was like, what's happening to me? My heart is pounding.
Why?
I just was walking into this house, and it was the woman was very difficult and she's bipolar, so we didn't know what to expect. And so I just had this anxiety that built up, and I didn't really know what that was because I've never experienced anxiety like that before. So,
okay. So walk me through this. You get the contract, you walk into this house. That you knew the woman was bipolar going into it, or no?
No. You walk into that. I mean, it was her family that had actually employed us because she was not ready for anybody to come into a house.
Oh, so her family was like, okay. So when we say hoarders, we're not talking about like, oh, this person keeps little extra trinkets. We're talking about
extreme hoarding,
like floor to ceiling of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So you walk into this house. This is just recently.
This is the house that we've been working. I was there today. This is the house that we've been working on recently. Yeah. This is my last house that I've had since I've only been doing this for about 6 months, but this is the last house that we've had recently. Yeah. So
she didn't want you there.
No, her brother has been paying the bills for a while now. She was a multimillionaire that spent all of her money, and her brother was fed up of paying the bills, so he's decided that she needs to sell the house. So we've come in to clean out the house and get it ready to sell it, so that she can have some money back, because she's got zero from her multi-million from when her parents passed away.
So she had inherited multi-millions of dollars and she's out of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So wait, is she literally out of money?
Well, she couldn't even make her rent. Like, he's been paying for her.
Wow.
She's completely out zero.
Wow. That's insane. So her brother obviously inherited money too. Yeah. And the brother, was this a family house?
Mm-hmm.
It was her house.
They have a family estate that was left to them, which she's moving into. This house that she bought 25 years ago. I mean, is a beautiful house. Chandelier, and the TikTok that went viral, her bathroom has a chandelier in it. It's beautiful. It was beautiful one day, and she built a lift, an elevator in her house.
Oh, that's right. You're from England, so it's a lift. Oh, we built a lift. We built a lift in the house,
and it's a beautiful house. It was once a beautiful house, and she just, I don't know. She just,
wow. Do you get do you think did you talk to her brother? Like, was she always like this, or did it happen one day?
When her father passed, he had said to the two brothers that, just watch out for her. It's gonna be hard for her. Like, it was a very hard, life-changing, moment in her life. And she really, really has struggled, and it's very sad. I have a very special place in my heart for her.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, I'm scared of her.
Wow. So it's like the half of her that's
not like
the bipolar. So you love half of her and you don't love half. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, I really know how that feels. Like I had a relationship with someone that was bipolar, and you never know. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, 1 second, like, they love you, and the next second, they will kill you.
Oh, yeah. So she was screaming. She screamed at me multiple times for doing something that she didn't want me to remove or throw away. And then the next minute she'll calm down, but screaming so loud that you're just,
wow.
And then she'll come back and just be like, I am like, there was more ups than there were downs. It was more of her, like, especially to us girls that were working for her, like the owners of, like, the men she wasn't as fond of in our company, but the women, like the women that were working for her, she had a soft spot for. So she'd either be screaming at us for a second, and then she would, like, come and hug us and be like, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, and I'm so sorry. And I remember walking in, the first time I ever met her, I walked into the door and I said, hi, my name is Shelly. How are you? And she was like, I am not okay. And I was like, okay. She's like, I am not okay, and I will never be okay. And I was like, I'm sorry. And she's like, and it was just from that moment on, and she's very emotional. And I mean, it sucks. She thinks that the bank stole her money, which they did not. She spent it.
Wow.
But she blames the bank, and, and she just basically had all these stocks and shares. I think it was one of the highest shares was in Walmart that her dad had left her and her brothers. And she lost it all.
Wow. Have you seen a pattern? Obviously, hoarding is a mental illness, but have you seen a pattern in the houses that you've cleaned out of like evident mental illness?
It's usually a massive life-changing situation.
Really?
Yeah. So one of the houses, this woman, it was so sad. She had this beautiful house. Oh, she had this beautiful land, a ranch, owned horses, and her husband got sick. And they had no children, and they went into the hospital one day, and this was like 6 years ago. They went into the hospital, and he thought he was just sick, and he was, they were going to be in there for a few days or whatever, and he died in hospital, and he never came home. So she came home to an empty house. That was 6 years ago. She never slept in their bed ever again.
Wow.
She slept on the recliner in the living room, and then when we got there, the whole house was absolutely covered. I mean, there were rats everywhere. There was rat droppings everywhere. And every drawer that we pulled out, every drawer that had like cutlery, I mean, like everything was covered in rat poop. And she'd been living on this recliner that was like the whole arm was like falling off to the side. And she was just... And, I spoke to her many times because she, again, has a big place in my heart because she said to me, "Are you married?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Oh, I pray to God that you never, ever lose your husband and you never have to go through this." And it was just a really sad story. She basically lost her love of her life, and she had there was no preparation for it. It was just in the hospital and then never came back.
Did the hoarding start after she was like or did it start like, was there evidence that she was sort of stockpiling beforehand and then it just got out of control?
Some situations they are like that. You can tell it's like family have been hoarders and then the children are hoarders, and it's just naturally like that. I don't know with her. Her place wasn't that huge, and it wasn't really like she was collecting stuff. It was basically like she never let her dog out in 4 years. She slept on 6 years, and she slept on the couch for 6 years. The recliner, and so like walking on her carpet was like walking on hardwood of poop. And it was just really sad. And actually that one house we found $22,000 in cash that she didn't even know she had.
Wait, hold on. You found $22,000 in cash.
Yeah.
In her house.
Yes.
And where was it in
the office that he always dealt with the money. It was obviously like he was obviously trying to save cash for future, just to keep her safe or whatever he needed to do for save that cash. So we found this big huge, it was just in a drawer. It wasn't, we brought it out to her and we were like, "Here you go, here's 20." And so she counted it in front of us, and it was like $22,000.
Wow.
I made $500 tip that day.
Good for you. She made $21,500.
Yeah.
Wow. And so there was no indication prior that she was a hoarder.
No, not really, because at this point, we don't really know much about their life. We just kind of come in at that last point, and it was really sad because her place was once beautiful, and same with the last house. You can see that it was beautiful once, and all of these situations, like there was another house which she actually died, and that's why we came in, because she'd passed away. Her brother had come to the house and had no idea, and her house was like packed, like you couldn't even get through. You had to kind of make your own way through. And she'd gone to the hospital because she was sick, and she died and never went back to that house. And I went into her craft room, and every single, she was a hoarder of crafts. And we went into her craft room, and everything was so meticulous and so like every pen, every coloring pencil pen was labeled with like a label maker. And she had cardstock labeled. It was at one point in her life, she was incredibly organized. I don't know what happened to make her switch like that, but she ended up, her plumbing stopped working. She ended up, that was this was the most disgusting situation I've been in, because she could no longer use the toilet. I guess she felt like she could never bring anybody in to help her. She was embarrassed maybe. And then she would pee in cups and poop in bags and throw that into her walk-in bathroom. We couldn't even get into it. There was black mold in there. We had to have the whole hazmat outfits on.
Is there a theme that they can't throw things away?
Yes.
Like they keep everything and they can't throw it away because it's like some psychological.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But do you think that the reason why she had so much in feces in the house was because she was embarrassed to have a plumber over?
Yes.
Okay. Cause I
don't know, actually. I don't know. I think she genuinely was just not right in the head, but.
Well, the reason why I asked this is because I have ran calls in hoarders' houses, and they have no problem with inviting somebody over to the house.
Yeah.
And I even had this guy the whole house was packed from like ceiling to floor, and he joked about it. And he had a section outside of his house in his yard, like a little gazebo that we sat in to talk. And he was like, he specifically made this area for when people come over to like sit in and talk, because he knew that his house was an absolute disaster. Yeah. And this was a very successful person too. This was not I guess you never know.
You never know. This recent woman that's having to move because her brother's fed up of paying with her, and she lost multi-millions. She's got pictures all over the place with like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Clintons, Muhammad Ali. Like she's got signed baseballs by like Nolan Ryan. Yeah. And Willie. And she collects thousands of Beanie Babies, hundreds
Beanie Babies
hats, like gorgeous hats, like $400 or $500 worth of hats, each hat, and she had a retail for sure, but then there was also so much trash as well. And I think when I've spoken to some of them about that, and I think they all need therapy for sure. And I wish I could give them the therapy, because that would be very therapeutic for me, and being able to just kind of help them even one step further than what we're already doing. But it's just, you can tell that either some life changes happened and they are depressed. And this one woman that's husband died in the hospital. She just gave up. She didn't want to take her dog out to the bathroom anymore. She literally just gave up on life, and it's just really sad. So
is there can we talk about the viral video? Let's talk about the viral video. So this was a time lapse over the course of 8 hours, right?
No, we were only in the bathroom for about 4 or 5 hours.
5 hours, one bathroom.
It was just her master bathroom, yeah.
Okay. And then you time lapsed it. You threw it up on TikTok, and you've gotten 350,000 people involved in this post. Yeah. Now, I heard the reason through the grapevine as to why this wasn't like a just grab everything and throw it in a dumpster kind of deal. She was looking for something.
So, yeah, she had lost a diamond cross she was looking for specifically. So she asked us to go through every single item in the bathroom, because she was looking for this one cross, which we unfortunately never found. But we found thousands of other crosses and thousands of other pieces of jewelry and all the clothes and hats and scrunchies, like 200-300 scrunchies, and she wanted to keep all of it. So that was another problem. Like she wanted to keep a lot, everything.
Where though? Did you put it in tubs?
So we basically bagged it all up in big, which was very upsetting for her. you want to be able to be respectful for the person that you're cleaning up for, but also there's a time crunch and you've got to really try and get this. We're trying to sell the house for her, and there was just so much stuff. So everything got bagged in bags, big black industrial bags, contractor bags, and then they all got labeled like scrunchies or clothing.
Was there enough scrunchies to fill an entire trash bag?
Almost.
What?
Scrunchies, hair ties. I mean, she's got this big old hair.
Oh.
She's this big old Texan woman.
But why not?
Actually, she says she's a Norwegian, and she's a big old Norwegian woman that likes to collect hair, hats, 300-400 hats.
Yeah, but like scrunchies, like why could you not throw those out? Like they were.
I know we did, and she would open the bags and be very upset when she found a scrunchie, or we accidentally threw out some bathing suits, and
she was upset.
Oh, very upset.
Like, what does that look like? Like
she
crying?
Came in. She would cry a lot, but she would come in and just scream, really, and then she'd be like, "It's okay," and we'd be like, "You have to let it go." Let it go. Let it go.
If it sparks joy, the problem is everything sparks joy, right? Everything sparks joy. Right.
So we just had to do it secretly.
Wow.
To some extent, a lot of stuff she's taken with her, but it's hard. Like they're leaving. This is their life, and they're having to give up so much, and they've collected it for the last 25 years. They don't even know what they have. I mean, but weirdly, she knew. I would be like, look at this hat. And she'd be like, I wore that hat at this place in this situation and or this t-shirt. It's like, she had a incredible memory. She knew where every item of clothing she's and so many of her clothing had tags on still, but she would always be like, oh yeah, I wore, this one I wore here. And it was.
You know what the weirdest thing was? I went to this one hoarder house where they had kids and everything. And the daughter, who was probably around 14, maybe 15 years old, she's sitting at a desk doing her homework on her computer or pen and paper, whatever it was. It was years ago, maybe like 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And the mom is like showing me around the house. I'm like quoting the AC system. And I'm like, there's like these trails through the house to like get to different places, like these trails. Like it wasn't like, oh, I walked through the living room. I was like, you walk through like a grid, like there's one line or two lines that walks through the living room. But this poor girl, she's 14 years old or whatever. And she's just sitting there doing her homework. Like everything's normal.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's sad.
They just like everything's normal. Now, obviously she's lived in that filth for years and years. But are any of these people that you're cleaning out their houses, have any of them had children living in the house?
Yes,
or really?
There was one woman that I guess she lost her husband and her son, because I found letters from her son to his friends at school and then back to him. So I know that he was living there at one point, but I never met her. It was her brother that came in town. She was getting evicted from her apartment because it was starting to smell. You couldn't even open the door fully.
Oh, wow.
It's a 2-bedroom apartment. One of the bedrooms, I guess her son was living at. It was like a room. It had and so she walked in. You couldn't even get into the room, but there was a trail that went through, and her bed had a tiny sliver on it, but it was full of cockroaches, full of mice droppings. Her bed had a tiny sliver. And that's kind of like where she just went and laid down on her side. She couldn't move anywhere else. And that's the only amount of room. I mean, most of the stuff in her room, in her entire apartment, had to be just thrown out because it was covered. I mean, there were cockroaches crawling over the walls. I don't even know how, the person above her, I don't even know how if they must have had a infestation because.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine having a neighbor that is a hoarder that doesn't care about rodents and cockroaches, and then those get into Europe? Oh.
Yeah, it had to, but they had to have had a problem upstairs. There's no way. I mean, and the fact that it was starting to smell from her apartment.
Have you noticed, most of these houses were most of them were nice, right? Like most of these are not, these aren't like
at one point in time, yes, they were absolutely beautiful. And then something changes, a life change happens, and depression and, sickness and mental health. I mean, it all just plays a big part in it, I think. And I know. And yeah.
Well, so I'm going to pivot here for a second. So you've had a couple of very straight, aside from being an aerialist, you say aerialist, I say pole dancing, right? Like, so, talk about your travels. Like, you have been everywhere. How many countries have you been to?
Over 40 countries.
40 countries. Yeah, are you banned from any countries?
No, my husband is. He's banned from Australia.
Okay, so he's banned. You're not banned from any countries?
No.
Okay. Well, the reason why I asked that is because you've had quite the experiences. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Australia was the biggest place. I spent a couple of years traveling all around the world. And at one point, I spent 2 years traveling around the world. I went to Australia, New Zealand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, like Central America, South America. I mean, I did all of it over about a 2-year span. That's where I met my husband. But because he's American and I'm British, we forgot that Americans at that time were only allowed to spend 6 months in Australia, whereas I could spend a year. So we were just living our life, having the time of our lives, and he overstayed his welcome. And so we actually got kicked out of Australia, went to New Zealand, and he wasn't allowed back in. We had to like beg and plead and actually pay cash under the table to try and get us back into Australia for him to get his flight home.
So do you hear that? Do you hear that, Zach? Do you hear that? Jeez Louise.
So, but during that time in Australia, we would travel around and work and travel and work, and we would stop and
paint this picture, because it wasn't like you went there like as like a super like silver spoon situation. Like you literally were backpacking with nothing. And you just took a flight and said, I'm going to Australia with the shirt on my back, right?
It was a round the world ticket, and I had it over a year, which I ended up extending it. It was, I don't know, maybe £500 or £600, maybe $700. And I went all the way around. I went to Kuala Lumpur and then on to Australia. And then, but when I was in Australia, I mean, I would just travel and work. And so we basically did the entire country twice. I bought a camper van and drove it once and then flew it another time. And I would always just stop in one place and try and find a job. So I've had many jobs.
Okay, this is fun. So what was the coolest, weirdest job that you had?
The weirdest would probably be being a surveyor for an international runway in Darwin and painting dots to survey the entire international runway, which was great because there's planes coming in all the time, and you have to be off the runway for about 20 or 30 minutes beforehand, and then you can't go back onto the runway till the plane's left for another 20 or 30 minutes. So I basically worked 20 minutes of every hour for the entire day. So the other 40 minutes, I was sunning myself, reading a book, and getting paid for it. It was like... So
you're painting dots on a runway.
Painting dots.
And you worked on a farm too, but it wasn't a regular farm though, right?
And then I worked on a crocodile farm.
Oh.
I looked after about 600 baby crocodiles that were hatching. They were kind of that was my area. I've also, what
did they do with the crocodiles? Like, was
a harvesting farm? So they would harvest them. I never got to see the harvesting happening. I wasn't there at the right time of the year.
You weren't there for the slaughter?
No, which I'm glad about, because they all became like my babies, my children. I had one whole tub. They kept all the crocodiles in bathtubs, and so they would all they would put them in incubators or whatever, and then whenever they hatched, they'd put them all in bathtubs. And so sometimes there were, 15 crocodiles in a bathtub, and one whole bathtub. They were born on my friend's birthday, Amy. And so I named every single one of them Amy.
Every crocodile's name is Amy.
Yeah, so they were all called Amy, and they were like, I love them all. And the minute they're born, crocodiles are born with 36 teeth. The minute they crack open the egg, their mouths immediately open, and they have 36 teeth or 34 teeth or something. Yeah.
And they're far more evolved than other creatures when they're born.
They're immediately ready to bite.
They're ready to feed. And so you did something else though. You he did some other jobs, some other odds and ends, some things. So let me ask you a question. So there's this story, okay, that I heard you tell that was like this nuts, crazy story. Are we allowed to talk about this story about like you found like a friend of yours, like you ran in, like you were across the world and you hadn't seen them in however long? Are we allowed to talk about this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So I thought, see, this is crazy. We're like hashing this out right now. This is the unscripted part of this podcast. So I think I'm right, where you ran into a friend of yours in Australia that like you hadn't seen, and they were from the UK and they were like missing.
This is not me.
No, it is you. All right. Well, clearly my memory doesn't serve me right. I thought that you ran. Was it Fanny?
Anna?
Yeah. McFanny. Yeah. Oh,
no, actually, no, but you are very similar. No, you've kind of got the. I've
got two stories mixed up there.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
She had a friend that was going in. I think you're talking about her arranged marriage.
Oh gosh.
She was like, maybe I think it was Indian, and she had an arranged marriage, and so she was escaping England, and she came to meet us when we were in Australia. And we were hiding her. Hannah actually hid her out.
That's right. You were hiding.
Yeah.
You were hiding people so that she would. Yeah. And wasn't there some kind of like?
She was 16.
But wasn't there like they were like going to like something bad was going to happen to her? It wasn't like just an arranged marriage, wasn't it? Okay, maybe my memory's not serving me properly. For some reason, I thought this story is taken. I've got 5 stories mixed up in my.
You might have, yeah.
Yeah.
There have been some stories. So.
That's pretty crazy. And so talk, do you teach women how to do aerialist and
aerial fitness? Yeah.
And I guess men too, pole dancing.
Pole dancing. Yeah.
And so how did that come?
So I was basically traveling around Australia the first time. I've been there twice to travel. And the first time I was traveling around there, we just decided to do it for fitness, me and my friend, and we fell in love with it. And we were like, I was planning to open a company or pole fitness studio when I got back, because we didn't have anything like that. This is 20 years ago. Now they're everywhere, but there was nothing like that in my town. So I came home and I built up this studio. I had about 50 students a week, and I was teaching 3 times a week, and it was in gyms. It was like there was 2 different gyms, and I was just like coming in, setting the poles up, taking them back down, and moving on. And it was incredible because I was empowering all these women. And it was new and exciting. And so really that's been one of my biggest achievements in life. I ended up becoming a master trainer. I traveled all over America, actually training other people to become instructors for the company that I was working for, and just empowering women to be badasses. So.
Is there therapy involved in that? Do you feel like it's therapeutic?
Oh, for sure. Some women
like,
come in. And
that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out, like, is there some women who are like, let's say they're timid, or they're not outgoing, or they want to break out of their shell, or whatever it is, and then you sort of assist and help them? Like, have you seen like transformation happen
100%.
from really
women that have been in terrible relationships with husbands that are divorced? Women that have come out of their shell and met amazing people from it and been more confident and married into incredible relationships. Women who've abusive women that have come in that have been abused and finding themselves again. Life-changing, empowering, incredible. And like those women that I've met, that's when I first moved here. I didn't have any friends. I left my whole life in England and I moved over here to be with my husband, and I had nobody. And I started teaching at the girls' room in Dallas, and I had a core group of instructors and students, and we're all still friends today. And one of them's like 30 and I'm 40 and 10 years younger than me. Back then I was 30 and she was 20. I mean, she wasn't even legal and she wasn't even old enough to drink here in America, which is crazy to me. She should be 18, you build this group of friendship, and we were all so strong, and it was incredible, empowering time.
That's really cool. And I just remembered a story actually that I want. Okay. So you guys were living out of campers in Australia,
yes.
and you were living in hostels.
Yes.
And you were living on the streets, and guys were hustling and trying to find ways to like basically eat, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are you comfortable telling, you have to, the story about you, didn't you work in a hostel and there was some kind of,
Hannah did. Yeah.
It was Hannah. Right. And like somehow you cheated the system and you were able to get like more, trying to get like more meals out of.
Yes. So we were living in Cairns in Australia, and we had no money. And so we had $4 between us. So we signed into this hostel, which is bunk beds. There's like 6 bunk beds in a room. And we pretended that there was only like 2 of us, but there was 3 of us. And so the other one snuck in and would sleep in a single bunk bed with the other person. And then we would take a picture, because back then it's not easy on your smartphone. We would take a photograph of the thing you get when you stay a night. You get like a voucher for food. So we took a photo of the
So
voucher.
it's like a government food voucher?
No, it's just for the hostel.
Okay, so there's vouchers that they give out, and then you give the voucher to the chef, like to the lunch lady, and you go.
When you stay at the hostel, they give you a voucher.
Yeah.
So we took that voucher and took a photograph of it, printed it out, and then photocopied it like 100 times. And then if you hand in 2 vouchers, you get upgraded to a bigger meal. So we had all these vouchers, and then we would like share them to other people in return for beer vouchers. So we would end up with all this food and beer.
But technically you had to work for these vouchers, right?
That was there was work involved. We had to clean. She was cleaning rooms. She got extra vouchers for like being a maid at the place. Right.
And you just were like, no, forget this work stuff. We're just going to print the vouchers and get the meals.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, it is bad.
But when we had $4, like we had no money. We were just trying to survive.
Yeah.
And we didn't eat much. We drank a lot, but we didn't eat much. We didn't take much, but.
Right. But just double the amount of meals so that other people couldn't eat.
I think everybody was fine. Everyone was just living their life. This is back in 2016.
You were like, what, 20 something?
Yeah, 25.
Wow. Yeah. So I asked this question to everybody that's been on this podcast, and
2006, not 16.
Yeah, I was going to say 2006. I asked this question to everybody, and it's something that I'm really I love to learn about. What, like in your experiences, like with your different jobs, obviously working in other people's farms and other people's homes, especially the hoarder clean out. What is something that you have taken with you that like lives with you?
Well, so I guess I've learned a lot about compassion and about other people's situations, especially with the hoarding.
Why? Like specifically, like what happened that?
Like you can't judge anybody. Like you see, a lot of people have commented on my viral video saying that's disgusting. How can they live like that? I can't believe, like, this is what the hell. Like, and it's made me realize that you really can't judge anybody without really knowing. And I don't know half of these people that I've helped. Like, I really don't know their life. I know a small fraction of it. And a lot of the times it's really sad. And I've been through some really hard, sad, tough times. I lost my mom to suicide when I was 20 years old. But like, I always remember thinking, I just don't want to be different. I don't want to change. I just want to be who I am. And a lot of people don't, or struggle to be the same. These life changes just throw them into depression, throw them into, just this hole, and they can't get out of it. And I am grateful for my life that I've been able to survive the trauma I've been through. And now I'm actually helping other people that have been in such terrible, sad situations. And I guess I'm grateful for that. And it's made me appreciate my life and my situation even more.
I'm going to ask you a difficult question because you made mention of something. So you talked about your mom and you lost her when you were young because she committed suicide. In your now, when you're in other people's homes and you're helping them clean out their stuff and obviously they have mental illness. Does it give you some kind of like reflection? Is there a correlation you can see between like this person's mentally ill and like your own personal life experiences? Like, do you see something that runs through that, or are they completely?
I haven't actually had a situation that's been like mine. So I don't know if I've been able to associate with suicide, I guess, because that's something, if somebody had lost someone to suicide, I would immediately be like, oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I've been there and I would have probably more, but in all of the 10, 11, maybe houses I've been into with these different clients, like there's not been, it's been other different situations. And so I haven't experienced suicide, I don't think.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to, and I really try to not bring that into.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably not.
Yeah. I don't know why, but like in my head, when you said that, I thought to myself, there might be something, like you can sort of look at people who are mentally ill and you can say like, okay, like I can see there's a, like some box gets checked, something clicks and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is totally like, I see the correlation, but in your experience.
No, I do. And I think I see, maybe I just subconsciously don't even realize how much I'm helping certain people when I'm bringing those life experiences in from what's happened to me.
That's a really good point. Do you think that when you are done, because it's cleaner and they can see the floor, and do you see a sense of like maybe relief on them and
100%.
I wasn't sure because maybe they would still be like, no, why did you? So do they, are they emotional? Like,
oh my gosh, they're crying to me and to my team and thanking us. And it's been a life-changing experience. And they are so thankful. There was one girl, like her parents love me. She's like requested me to go back and clean her house. And
let's hope that doesn't happen again. Like,
like she's just like, they've seen her change. She was this girl that was living at home millions of miles. She's from Minnesota and she's living here in Dallas and she has no family near her and she's working from home and she just got into this entire mess. And I've gone out and there was like cockroach infested apartment and we've come in and cleaned the whole thing and like it's changed her entire. And I've come back and visited her like 3-4 months later and she's doing really well and I still speak to her and she's so grateful and her parents know me by name. And
is her house still cleaned?
Yeah, I went back.
Whoa.
She's like, and I've just gone back to check in on her and she's still so grateful and like she just needed this fresh start, this like.
You're changing people's lives.
Yeah, and a lot of times I feel like these people are embarrassed or they don't want you in their house to see this and they just don't want the help. They think they don't need it or whatever. But once they have it and once they realize that we're not coming in there and just tearing their house apart, we are compassionate and caring and we change their lives. Yeah,
it's interesting because I think some people would go in and just like clean, like whatever, like you're going in, like it sounds to me like you have a relationship with every single, 100%. That's crazy. You're offering.
I almost feel like I'm a therapist, but I'm not like a registered therapist, but I feel like we have to talk to them. We have to, just today, one of the owners of the company, he was like, okay, so I want you to go in and just kind of speak to her and talk to her and try and convince her that it's time for her to leave because we need to move, and he's asking me because he knows that our relationship
you can do it
with her is like different.
Yeah. Wow. See, this is such a unique.
They're expecting a lot, like our whole team, like we kind of go in and we have many hats, I guess.
Yeah. So it's like you go in and it's like you got to actually do psychotherapy first and then the clean out starts.
Yeah.
That's wild. Like like it makes sense to me, but it's wild. Because now let me ask you another question. What's the method? Like walk through, like you go in, like what do you look at?
Every job is different.
Really?
Every single job is different.
Really?
It's crazy. They're all, and you just walk in not really knowing. I mean, the initial method is you walk in and do a walkthrough and do a quote, or you do it through video or pictures and you kind of quote through that. And then we come in and we meet them, and you've just got to really be open to whatever is going to be thrown at you, because it could be a scary, crazy bipolar hat woman, or it could be, a sad individual that lost his or her wife or husband, or, it's just so different. You can't, it's just
so there's no science to it. But then once you get to the work, is there do you start in a specific room?
Yeah, so I've been very overwhelmed with this last house, like so overwhelmed. I've walked in and I've been like, this is the first time I've ever walked into a house and I don't know what to do. And I've walking around it took me a good half an hour just walking around being like, where do we start? I mean, it was mounds and mounds of clothes, and she wanted to keep everything. And so just trying to go in there and figure out what to do and where to start. And she was there the entire time.
Oh gosh.
She didn't want to leave.
A hover.
Leave every single day, and she didn't want to leave. And so there'll be like rubbish on the floor, and she'd go find some tiny little silver thing that was, I don't know, broken brooch, and she'd pick it up and be like, oh, and she'd like put it to the side, and she'd like pick up stuff and make piles everywhere, and she would be like, and we'd be like, we're packing this all in a box and it's all going with you, but she'd be like, no, I need that now, and I need this now, and she'd make piles everywhere, and it was really overwhelming to deal with that person whilst trying to do this job. Like and today when I said goodbye to her, I mean, she gave me a big hug and like crying her eyes out. Like, I hope you never have to go through this. This is horrible. This is just so sad. And it's just really sad.
So there is never a time where you've gone into a house where they've been like normal people that just are messy. It's always mental illness.
Something. Yeah.
There's always something.
And it's like health. Yeah. Sometimes it's health, and they're now working from home since COVID, and they're just sat at their desk and they just throw their item of their fast food down on the floor, and then the fast food just makes them bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they throw the fast food on the floor and they never throw the fast food away. And there's like Coke just spilt out on the floor for months. And then there's maggots, and you come in and you're like, all you had to do was just take the trash out. But there's something.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Like they're lonely. There must be some mental illness. They're sat at their desk now. They don't have to go into the office anymore. They're lonely. They're sad. They're depressed. They're anxiety, like whatever.
Are they all like, are most of these people, let me ask you this, are most women?
Yes.
Wow. And are most, like age wise,
Actually, there was one guy that was an incredible musician, is an incredible musician for years and years and years. And he had this incredible harp.
Wow.
It was a penis harp. He was a gay guy. And the harp, it was a harp. And we were looking at it, and I'm like dusting it. And I'm like, wait, this is like a penis, and this is
oh my God.
And we said to him, your harp is beautiful, like, but what? And he's like, it's an original. I don't know. So if he's listening to this, he'll know I'm talking about him. Or the person that made the harp will know that I'm talking about them, because there is no other harp in the world.
There is one penis shaped harp in the world, and Shelly has
dusted it.
It's a dust free penis harp.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
I found Playboy magazines from 1980.
Oh, What's the coolest thing you found?
Oh my gosh.
I saw something where you found like a 1980s Walkman. I was I haven't seen one of those in a while. Like, I want to see a Walkman. You found like a windbreaker outfit from like 1982.
Like they give it to me, and so I'm like,
what's the coolest thing?
Myself.
What is the coolest thing you found?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. Like, I mean, that windbreaker was pretty cool because it brought me right back to my childhood. And I wish I'd never got rid of.
Okay, describe this one.
We call it a shell suit.
A shell suit?
A shell suit.
It was like a straight 1985.
Yeah, and she's just had it in the closet for the entire, 30 years.
Did it have the tag on it?
No.
Oh, she wore it once?
But, and then a Walkman and then I had to find some cassettes, and I've got like some, I don't know, gosh, like. You got a whole bunch of cassettes, right? Like, here, have these cassettes. You know, they might be worth something. Brandy Carlisle, is it?
They might be worth something like one day. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, cassettes might actually be worth something.
I got a Furby.
Oh, gosh.
A Furby and, just a lot of old.
Oh, my gosh.
Stuff that I feel bad that I threw out when I was younger. I mean, I kind of wish I kept some of this stuff because now it's worth.
Yeah.
A little bit.
How are you gonna know? I mean, my dad rode around on a bicycle in Brooklyn back in the day with baseball cards like in his bicycle spokes. Yeah. Like, those cards are worth like $1 gazillion now. Yeah. Who would have known though?
Who would have known?
But you know what it is? It's nostalgia. People buy the nostalgia. They love the nostalgia.
Yeah.
They love like things that are like, remind them of a time that is it's not here. Who knows if it'll ever return. Right. You try to bring it back, but yeah. So as we're wrapping up here, I really want to hear from you something that was like, you could say in your life is like a cornerstone of like your existence. Like, this particular thing, like, helped shape me. Like, this right here, this thing happened. And since that happened, like, bam, like life's been, I've taken this path because of this.
I would say pole dancing.
Just, you found a pole, you started dancing.
And I met some incredible women during that journey, and it made me confident, it empowered me, it made me strong. And I ran with it, and I entered a competition 4 months after having my first child, and I won the championship. And
I didn't know that. Yeah, you won a championship? I
won the level 4 championship. Yeah.
Of like the whole world?
Well, no, it's like of the
galaxy. Universe?
I guess Dallas, America. I don't know. Like,
Dallas.
Everyone traveled into this.
Oh, it was like you won
PSO championships, and I won the level 4 championship.
That's really amazing.
And I'm proud of you. I was 4 months post first child.
Wow. So all these people are going to be so upset at you now.
TikTok too, you can find out.
Yeah.
Shelly the Brit.
So I bet you if you check that TikTok now, it's got like 500,000 views, by the way. Yeah. It's insane. Tell people, like, okay, so what you on TikTok, if you want to check out this ridiculous viral video, it's got 400,000 views now. It is what is the TikTok name? I know it's Shelly.
So the TikTok is my personal Shelly the Brit, but
is there underscores in there?
Shelly _the Brit.
Okay, there you go. Shelly _the Brit. And then the company.
The company is Estate Recovery Agency, and family-owned business. Credible people. We will help and no job too small, too big. And we're just there to help any of these people out there that are struggling with junk removal or, selling of the house. I mean, we can do all of it. Selling a house, we can junk removal and transitioning.
And you teach pole and aerial.
Pole and aerial at Body Synergy in Rockwall.
Body Synergy in Rockwall. If you're in Dallas, you can cross the bridge.
I also sling beer at Siren Rock Brewery.
Okay. There you go. So our sponsor tonight was Siren Rock Brewery. Very grateful for this sponsor. And she slings beer over there sometimes, and sometimes she does what?
Sales.
You do the shows, right? You go out to like the beer festivals.
Beer festivals.
Siren Rock Beer. Well, this has been, I think, can I just say this? And I'll just say this. I think I'm looking over here. I'm looking at the interactions and all the comments and everything else. And this is probably the most engagement, like live at least, we've seen. So Shelly, I can't thank you enough. This is a break from obviously the other stuff that I've done, but it's truly amazing. Great stories. I love amazing. So thank you so much, guys. Check out Siren Rock Brewery. Check out Shelly's page.
Estate Recovery Agency.
Estate Recovery Agency.
If you're a hoarder, look me up. I got you.
Look her up.
If you're a pole dancer or you want to get into pole dancing, look me up too.
Yes, pole dancing. Also, you'll see some art on Shelly here. Coming up on the podcast, I have a very famous tattoo artist. He is incredible. His name is Ian Jones. Jonesy Zaps. Jonesy Zaps on Instagram has like a bazillion followers. He works for Oliver Peck from Ink Master. He works in a private studio that's like a part of Elm Street Tattoo. But anyway, he's coming on, and his stories are bonkers. Tattoo Tales.
Imagine.
So
Tattoo Tales, I love it.
We're doing Tattoo Tales. And then also coming up, we have Rob Linus, who's a famous country music star. He's coming up. I'm really grateful. And then we don't have a date yet, but the Kenny Brooks, the like bazillions of followers on Facebook, couldn't on every social media. Can't even believe this guy's coming on the podcast. Kenny Brooks, the funny salesman, is coming on. And he is incredible. Look him up. Kenny Brooks is going to be on the show. I'm overwhelmed, guys. I want to just say that the other day I checked my like sort of engagement on this podcast. Again, two months we've been doing this, and I had nearly 30,000 people engaged in this podcast, which like blew my mind for a podcast that just started. So clearly it's been going well. But okay, I love you guys, and until next week, wave goodbye.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.